People who think domestic violence only happens to insecure small women who don't like them.
I am not gonna lie, she read me down. I was one of those people, I mean, honestly, until I watched this video, that thought that, becoming like this, becoming like that. We have created a list of things to do in order to avoid getting abused, because that's one of my biggest fears. What she's saying is there are some predators that are so cold that they will go after the strongest woman, the brightest woman, the most intelligent woman in the room, the woman with the most accolades, and suck the life out of her. I also mentioned how a lot of people are jaded because their childhoods were ruined because their mothers were getting abused and the mom was just acting a complete fool. I'm sure you guys have seen that dynamic in your lives. It is true, there is this narrative, and I was a part of pushing this narrative that, oh, well, like, men that are abusive only like women like this. And she was talking about how cold these people are. And I discussed narcissistic women all of the time. I think that we don't give men enough credits. I think that people do feel like they are stupid. A lot of these men are severely calculated and manipulative. She said your next abuser could be hiding in your comment section, watching your business page, paying attention to the tone that you use in your posts. I was watching another video and he was talking about the girls in high school that would get trains ran on them, and how even at 15 years old, boys knew how to spot who had horrible backgrounds at home, no one cared about them, neglected, abused, bullied at the same time. And those are always the girls who were getting trains ran on them. A think piece. So if they're already that cold at what they do at 15 years old, what is making you think that you healing, and I'm not saying don't take these preventative measures, because the women in my life that I knew that got abused were severely insecure. Yeah, we have the entry level abusers who go after people who look weak, but there are people who are way more calculated than that. A lot of people like this are malignant narcissists. And I spoke about dealing with coworkers that were like this, where they set up a whole plot. It was a scheme set up by Todd. Narcissistic people have sociopathic tendencies, pathological lying, but the malignant narcissist is able to create a plot and oftentimes succeed with that plot. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, there's a man who is looking at me, because I have noticed that men pay attention to women way more than we think. And I don't know if I was the only one thinking that way. Let's say you start a new job and you see a guy, I'm very observant, right? You see a guy looking at you from the corner of your eye, and he's been doing this for months on end, and you've been ignoring it. This man is collecting information about you in the background. This man is trying to figure out your likes and dislikes before he approaches you, because men do not like to get rejected, right? So if I do everything right, and if I find out all of the details about this woman, her life, her background, etc., I will be able to go in for the kill and succeed in my mission. Whether this person has malicious intent or not, I want you guys to realize that this is how calculated these men move. No amount of healing can stop people from being predators. And I do want to compare this conversation to sexual assault and abuse. It's like, oh, well, if you dress like this, then abusers won't abuse you, right? You what were you wearing that night? Because if you weren't wearing that, then this wouldn't have happened. Hold on now. She read me for filth. So I would like to renege some of my statements that I previously made, but I do want to say that healing from your childhood trauma, not being around people who are narcissistically abusing you, even if that's your family, not being around people who treat you like the scapegoat, not allowing people, having all of these boundaries in place is definitely going to set you up to be able to spot red flags. But at the end of the day, sometimes there are no red flags because the person is literally sociopathic. Sometimes you won't be able to spot it. If someone is that calculated and cold, there's nothing that you can do. Now, yes, we can take these preventative measures. Weak women, quote unquote, women who aren't secure, are not the only women who get abused. This can happen to doctors, lawyers. We see it all the time. I was just watching a story about a woman who was actually a domestic violence advocate who was stabbed by her husband 17 times. Yes, 17 times. She never thought it would be her, but he switched up. I do want you guys to remember that there is possibly someone who is plotting on you right now, watching your every move, watching your every post, watching everything you say, reading between the lines, and trying to figure you out so he can go in for the kill. The first time a man hits on you, leave. Leave. If you notice that a man is trying to tear you down, leave immediately. Leave immediately. It's just highly contradictory for me to not believe in rape apologists, say that we shouldn't blame women for what they're wearing, and then turn around and say that you got abused because you were insecure, which is a part of the conversation a lot of the time. But the most powerful women can get abused. The most successful women can get abused. So I'm done with that. Sometimes you have to check yourself, but these conversations need to be had. And she articulated that message so well that it touched me. Now, if you know a lot about psychology, you know that these abusive dynamics are very complex, very complex. And to only speak on this from one perspective is just not, it's not it. I saw another creator talking about how we need to focus on protecting children because children are the most vulnerable population on the planet. And I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. If we protected the children, if we educated the children, men wouldn't be like this. But we cannot forget about the billions of people that are already here on this earth. Everyone has their own lane. I did previously mention that by the end of people's sociology degrees, they learned that there's really nothing we can do except dismantle the whole system. So save the children, save the women. I'll choose to save the children and the young women. I'm choosing to advocate for the young women who grew up around women who were getting abused so we can hurry up and snap them out of it before it's too late, right? So we don't allow ourselves to get abused by the women who are abusive because they were abused. Generational curse breaker or a cycle breaker. Now, at the end of the day, it's like this. Imagine there's a life raft. There's a boat that's sinking. There's a life raft. There's a man, a woman, and a child. I'm saving the child. I'm saving the youngest person. And I don't know if that's right or wrong. I cannot say that I am morally superior because that's what I believe in. But at the end of the day, if these children were protected, if they didn't grow up seeing these things, if they learned about emotional intelligence, and if they learned about these things that we discuss, they would have never been abusive. You know, if young boys were taught not to abuse unless they really have some behavioral or psychological issues, they wouldn't even do this if they were not taught to devalue and dehumanize women. And if women were taught to put themselves first instead of sacrificing themselves for the male gaze, for everyone else, this wouldn't be a thing. And so that's why my prerogative is that I'm going to focus on the children or the young people, because they're not so set in stone with the way that they think. Many of us have spent years trying to explain this to the older women around us, and all they did was abuse us or silence us because that's what happened to them. And I often encourage women to educate their sons on these things because they teach us how not to get raped, but they don't teach their sons how not to be rapists, right? So people need to start teaching their sons how to not be abusers. Comment your thoughts on this, but her video was really deep. And I want to say this as a person who's lost friendships, friends that I've been friends with for years, and you're like, how could a man come in? I've seen, like, I was 18, my 18-year-old friend was dating a 25-year-old, and he was abusing her physically. She never told me about it, but I saw the signs. He was isolating her. I saw a video of us. We did like a best friend tag. I think I was like a sophomore in high school, and she was always so uplifting. So to watch someone drain the life out of your friend like that, and to watch your friend become this insecure person who all of a sudden is moving like a snake and competing with you. And eldest daughters are prone to this type of thing. So that's why I try to tell young women to protect themselves. Don't overextend yourself. That means don't let people use you. That means you're not going to keep being there for people who take advantage of your presence. We've had it happen with family members as well, where the woman will gossip about you to that man. The woman will compete with you because you think she wants her man. And she'll do all of these things probably because that man was cheating on her, and she's so insecure that she may view her daughter, her niece, her sister as a threat. It's sickening. And when you're going through that, you're like, what the fuck? What's really going on? But these situations are so complex. There are so many different layers, so many different things that contribute to these types of dynamics that I think that one can only choose to focus on the part that they feel most strongly about. That I feel like it would be in my best interest to advocate for the people like me. And through doing that, we will stop this cycle, this vicious cycle from continuing. As an eldest daughter, people did take advantage of my kindness, my love, my time, you know, my wisdom, do all these things, demean me simultaneously, throw me away for a man, treat me like I'm disposable, treat me like a dog on the street. And, it's really not fair that we have to do all of this, but this is life. And I don't want to see the next generation. Many of us have seen decades, generations of women getting abused, beat on, cheated on. And they encourage you to do the same thing. And it's so easy for us to blame them, which I partially do, because your healing is your responsibility. I'll be damned if that happens to me or my child, my children. I'll be damned if my son turns into an abuser or my daughter gets abused. It's just not. When we say generational curses or cycle breakers, this wheel has been turning for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And with me, it's done. We all have the power to rewrite our stories or start a new chapter with new things and new people. If we ignore it, like the previous generation, we don't protect the children because my mom did that to me, and don't cut this person off, and that's what you deal with when you're married, and it's just going to keep going. And I don't know what you guys believe in, but when people say chosen ones, it's not something where it's like, oh no, it feels like you were chosen for this. You are carrying a lot of weight on your shoulders, and you were meant to break this curse in your family. It's going to stop with you. I'm not bullying my daughter. I'm not letting a man abuse me. I will not let my kids see me get abused. I am not raising my kids around violence, yelling, none of that. It's just not, I'm not going for it. So yeah, I do appreciate her perspective, and I wholeheartedly agree with what she's saying. I also know that I'm choosing to focus on this group of people, just focus on saving the children, because that's what I am most passionate about as a person who was unprotected by the adults around me, who turned a blind eye. Oh, my mom did that to me. It's just not, I'm not having it. I'm not.